February 14, 1943. Henderson Field, Guadalcanal. The Marines are weary but determined after months of savage combat. The Japanese continue to send bombing sorties virtually every day, and the defenders are aware that each time they scramble aloft, it may be their final mission. That day, a new squadron gets its baptism of fire, VMF 124, the first Marine squadron to be outfitted with the F4U Corsair. The pilots had practiced ferociously on this odd new plane, committing to memory its idiosyncrasies: approach curved, never attempt a straight-in landing, contend with that gargantuan torque on takeoff. They knew that if they could keep its temper in check, they would have in their control the most powerful fighter ever constructed by the United States. As the sirens shriek, a squadron of Japanese Betty bombers drops out of the clouds ahead, covered by a murderous ring of Zeros. The Marines scramble. Engines roar, wheels rise, and the deformed wingbirds burst heavenward. Captain James "Jim" Sweat, a mere 22 years of age, cinches his harness and pushes his throttle all the way forward. The Corsair acts like a furious beast, its nose pointing toward the heavens with vicious power. In front of him, the Betty bombers plod towards Henderson Field, as Zeros orbit overhead, poised to strike. The first encounter is a surprise attack. A Zero dives on Sweat, sharply banking, sure that the heavier American aircraft can't get away. But the Corsair doesn't have to get away. Sweat shoved into a sharp climb, relying on brute power to blast upward at a rate no Zero can follow. He flipped the fighter, descended, and released a burst from 6 Browning machine guns. The Zero exploded in flight, shredded by .50 caliber fire. In minutes, Sweat and his comrades shoot down several Japanese planes. Sweat alone, on his first combat mission, destroys 7 bombers before he must ditch his Corsair in the ocean. For his exploits, he will be awarded the Medal of Honor. The news spreads fast, both among Marines on the ground and Japanese pilots in the air. The Corsair is no lumbering behemoth. It is a killer. Nevertheless, the initial months are bloody. The Corsair's harsh landing characteristics keep the Navy from fully accepting it, so most of the brunt falls on Marine squadrons based on rugged island airstrips. But even in limited numbers, the effects are undeniable. Kill ratios start to rise, and for the first time, Japanese air superiority is directly challenged. Above the steaming Solomon jungles, the days of the Zero's effortless domination are drawing to a close. The Marines soon learned attempting to outturn a Zero was suicide. The Japanese fighter was lighter, quicker on its feet, and could spin in tight circles that would have a Corsair pilot stalling out. But the Corsair didn't have to play the Zero's game. Pilots mastered new strategy: battle in the vertical, not the horizontal. Employ brute speed and rate of climb. Deliver one killing pass, then roar back into the air before the Zero could move. This boom and zoom technique was the Corsair's creed. It never battled like a duelist, it hammered. Marine ace Gregory "Pappy" Boyington, leader of the legendary Black Sheep Squadron, personified this transition. Boyington was more familiar with the Corsair's eccentricities than anyone. He instructed his men never to get drawn into turning battles. Instead, they dived with anger, allowed the .50 caliber machine guns to work their magic, and then powered away before the agile Zero could close in. The Corsair's speed put it in control. In level flight, the Japanese Zero couldn't touch it. In a dive, the Corsair was unbeatable. And while the Zero might twist and climb, it was unarmored and had no self-sealing fuel tanks. One burst of the Corsair's guns and it was instant destruction. The initial reaction of Japanese pilots to this was one of disbelief. they had been making fun of American planes for being slow, underpowered, and crude all along. But this was something else. This aircraft stalked them with a ferocity they were not used to. From late 1943 and beyond, Corsairs accumulated victory after victory. In the Solomons, in Rabaul, in the Marshalls, the kill tallies grew. At times in some theaters, Corsair squadrons recorded kill ratios of up to 11-1. Japanese pilots, confident earlier in the aerial superiority they had enjoyed, now entered into dogfights with an increasing sense of trepidation. Nevertheless, every victory was a sacrifice. Dozens of Corsairs never made it back, lost to flak, fuel starvation, or plain mechanical failure. Landing accidents still killed young pilots. But Marine squadrons came to rely on their crooked wing monsters with their lives. The scales were shifting. And in Tokyo, Japanese commanders who had once ridiculed the Corsair now grappled with an uncomfortable reality: the Zero's days were numbered.